There we go. All right. Well, with no blanking, you can see it's actually working now in auto mode. Basically, blanking is a procedure that the diode goes through. When you're drawing a shape, let's say you're drawing an H, the laser actually scans a straight line in all cases. So the blanking turns off the diode to create a blank space. So when you're going from, let's say you're writing the word hello, you do H-E-L-L-O. That H would be connected to the E by a line. So if you want separate letters, you have to blank the diode or turn it off, and then that creates the dead space between the two letters so it looks like a natural thing. In this example that we have here, the blanking's not working properly. So what you should see is a wave. What you do see is a wave that's joined by a straight line. In this case, the shape inside of this one can't be separate because the blanking's turned off, so there's a line that connects the two. That's how blanking works, and this laser is obviously not blanking right now. But as you can see, it in general seems to work-ish. And when I turn the blanking back around, the laser just turns off, which is not really what's supposed to happen. So not quite sure what's going on with that. But just a couple more thoughts. Like this thing is not actually attached to anything. Well, it's got one little post in it. But this is the diode driver, and this is going to make your diode burn out if it arcs. This board here is not attached on these two corners. It's only attached to the back of the case, which is sort of not the right way of doing it. There are lots of little things wrong with this, but in general, once the blanking's fixed, it kind of works. Okay, so let's do the actual important stuff. I'm going to zoom this down. It's not blanking right now, so we're going to get a true power measurement. And if you'd like to zoom down actually inside of the case here, I'd like to zoom down inside the case here. I'm actually going to take a power measurement by cutting the beam right here. We're at 62.9. Hopefully you can see that. 62.9 milliwatts. Now, what's very common with these non-compliant systems is that they will have a lot of the power of the beam in infrared. Infrared, you may know, you can't see it. It doesn't help your light show. It doesn't really do much of anything except pose a danger because it is effectively heat. It's what they cook turkeys with on late night TV. This was an infrared filter. Would you grab that, please? Do you see where it went? Thank you. All right. Okay, so this is an infrared filter. What this is going to do is actually strip the IR or the heat, as you prefer, out of the beam. Now, it's going to result in almost a zero loss in brightness. And if you look right here, while I cut the beam, you'll see me cutting it, but there's no real loss in actual brightness of the beam. So I'm going to have my beam cut here, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing and measure the power again, and we'll see what we get. 20.7. Good. Okay. So this thing's actually putting out about 20 milliwatts worth of laser light, and we still have the blanking control disconnected here. So this is an actual about 20 milliwatts worth of laser light. 20, 22, something like that. These inexpensive diodes are not particularly stable. So now we're going to take a Mobilebeat Mark II. This is the actual US legal version, right? And we're just going to kind of sit this guy here on top. Now you notice right away, the bottom one appears to be brighter. This is actually a trick of the camera. This one is not brighter. The optics on the diode are not as high quality, so the beam is actually fatter. What that means is that as it goes out through space, it loses its power much more quickly and doesn't have quite the same range. You'll also notice that this one up top from the Mobilebeat is really pulsing quite a lot. That's because it's still blanking. So when I test the power on this guy, the number that we're going to get is actually going to be an average of the on and off time of the diode. In other words, it's going to be roughly about half of the actual true output power of the diode. Remember, blanking is when the diode turns off. So if it's on part of the time and off part of the time, then you take the average of the two, it's about half as much. But we're going to do this here real quick. Hopefully I got it. 24.9. 24.9, which is 25. It's a 50 milliwatt piece. About half on, half off. You take the average and you'll end up with about half of the actual power, or about 25 milliwatts. So we're like right on spec here. See, this is a nice, tight, small beam. This is a sort of big, kind of ugly beam. And actually, see if you can zoom in here on the difference between these beams. See how splayed out and big this guy is? This is a poor quality diode beam in comparison to the one higher up, which is a nicer, tighter little circle. That's what you really want, because that's what's going to give you the best power over a long distance, whereas this guy will look good in the first few feet, but after that it's just going to basically completely disappear. That, and it's basically half below spec, so you're actually losing quite a lot of laser power when you're purchasing this 50 milliwatt laser system. So the long and the short of it is that there are really meaningful and substantial differences between build quality between compliant and non-compliant laser systems. It's not just an issue of legality. It's not just an issue of build quality and how long the piece is going to last you. You really get into issues of how well the piece is going to perform for you while it's still alive. And hopefully we've been able to illustrate a couple of those differences between quality made products and products that are perhaps mass produced and sold without a great deal of government oversight. Part of the reason that we make a better product is because we have to. It's required in the United States, whereas elsewhere in the world you can sort of buy whatever you want, and good luck to you and whomever your guests are. So this is Dan from the back of the X-Laser studio. Hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration of compliant versus non-compliant laser systems, and we'll see you next time.